Um, Hello and good evening. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more time so that everybody can join in. Okay, welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to another daily live session with ARTRA. And a shout out to Marisa Gnanaraj, who hosted last week and ran us through on how better to listen to music. And I listen to music better now. Thank you, Natasha. I also want to thank ARTRA for organizing this live session and trusting me to host it this week. Really happy about that. So I think we can start, I guess, Azara. Yeah. I will deal with the questions a bit later. So let's start off, I guess, now. Okay. So my name is Marisa Gnanaraj, and I work as an independent clothing designer. I also have my own label called Impact. So let me give you an outline of what today's session would be like. I would like to share a little bit about my creative process and then dive into some of my work where I will show you one of my most used and most loved clothing details, and that is piecing together fabric swatches to create a sort of a fabric collage. I use this in every piece of garment I make, well, almost. And I will also walk you through on how I create my patch pockets, and I will also tell you a way to make your own customized patch pocket. Okay, so starting off, I think all designers face this when they are starting any creative projects, and that is constrictions. I don't view constrictions as a negative thing because I think it helps shape the final outcome of what it is to be. So when I say constrictions, what do I mean? Okay, so then it would mean like what kind of project are you what kind of project is it? Something somebody has to wear? Is it something they're going to dance in? You have to take those into account. Then what kind of material would you be needing? What kind of technologies would you be needing to make it? Do you need specialized people, specialized machine? All that limitations come into when you are designing. This is the thing, in a designer's brain, you're always troubleshooting. What can go wrong? What are the what do I have to work with? What do I need to make? Necessity is a mother of inventions, and the universal one is when you're designing, you have to take into consideration, and the constraint is time and money. Everybody has issues with that. Okay, so sometimes deadlines can be very inspirational, but hey. Okay, so once we get that out of the way, I start off with a stick drawing, and just a silhouette I'm working with, and then I start the drafting process. Drafting is very important. I think it is the process for me. That is when I'm always thinking, and I need to touch, feel paper. I need to see the real dimensions. A lot of things happen during that process, and then sewing the toile, all those help. I'm a very hands-on designer. I remember in class it's mandatory for us to do pattern via computer. I suffered through that class because I couldn't relate to it. So it was I mean, I couldn't feel it. I'm looking at it from this tiny screen, and it was such a frustrating process. So I'm a good old-fashioned get your big paper pattern making kind of girl. Okay, so a lot of, I mean, maybe some of you are familiar that I am, I work with a lot of handloom fabric, and let me tell you a story how I came to love handloom fabrics. So when I was in design school, I was working on this project called Juxta-Op. So it was basically using optical art and juxtapositioning color blocks to create this body of work. And so in my research process, I was sourcing fabrics, and I could never find what I wanted. And it was getting a bit frustrating because time was catching up. So I did what any Sri Lankan child would do. I called my mom up and I told her, okay, I have this problem. I can't find what I want. Can you help me out? And then so my mom's a textile designer and a textile artist, and she also designs for barefoot. So so she very graciously and kindly worked out and saved me basically, and worked out some lovely fabric proportions and colors for me and sent it across to me. And that inspired my collection in a whole new way, in a way that I didn't see. And so I didn't appreciate handloom fabric, although I had my life surrounded by it, until I started actually working for it for this project, and I am so ever grateful. I will show you a picture of this, of what happened in the final outcome. Things are going to get a little bit wobbly, so bear with me. I'm going to hold the camera as much as I can, so hang on for a minute. Okay, so this was one of the very first collections I did, my Juxta-Op, and me working with handloom fabrics. I also incorporated jersey because I wanted to give myself a little bit of a challenge. Back then, I didn't know so much of sewing as I know now, and I ran into a few problems, but I learned a lot. So I will also like to show you some other works that I have done. If somebody asks me to explain my style aesthetic, I guess I would say it's minimal, geometric, bold, and graphic. So let's look at some of the things I have done over the years. So and using one of my favorite detailings, which is piecing together fabrics. So this is one of our samples we did to try it out, so this is the back of it. And I think I was into computer games or something like that, and I was fascinated with pixels, and I thought, okay, what if we can incorporate this into a design? And so this is what I did with that. This is what we created. So for the love of me, I cannot remember the name of this particular dress. Sorry if it's getting a bit wobbly. And when it comes to designing clothes, I think fabric is now a very integral part of my design process, especially if I'm working with hand woven fabrics. I always approach fabric first. And so when we are working with fabrics, we always cut off the big pieces. I mean, once you cut off the big pieces, we have little pieces remaining. And so I also try to incorporate that to make something more interesting. And so this is some of the dresses. It kind of reminds me of block printing. And this dress is called the Pyramix dress because the silhouette is sort of like an inverted triangle. It's a silhouette I like a lot because I like big shoulders, and it's one of my favorite silhouettes. It's a very forgiving silhouette because I'm all about size sustainability. This is also another pyramid. It's called the Prism Dress, and in this dress I played a lot with the collar details. So it's a little bit of a 3D collar when you wear it. This is a close-up of it. And these are all my favorite detailing of putting fabrics together to create another design. I like the idea of geometric shapes because they remind me of childhood. Those are one of the first things, fundamental things we learnt, to use squares, circles, triangle, and then to build a shape upon that is nice. And I always I enjoy working together and reworking design fabric and put pieces together to create another design. So these are all bits and pieces that I had left over. So sometimes one of these things will have many fabric swatches in them. So this is my ozone coat. And in this coat, I designed this primarily for myself because I didn't want to wear a shawl. So I wanted an interesting coat that would, that I could wear out if I'm wearing a sleeveless top and still feel warm. And so each of these pieces also have been stitched up together to make another design. And it's never the same. Like, hang on, I think I sort of end up doing one of one as a result because the swatches of fabric I have left are always very, very different. So each of these, it depends on how I cut it. So depending on how I cut it, I always will get something new, which keep things very, very interesting for me. Okay. Let me show you one of the more challenging projects I worked on, which was menswear. I have not been formally trained in menswear, and sartorial suit making is an art of its own. And I did this for a project when Barefoot had a show called Barefoot Showcase, and for that I decided I was gonna try menswear just for a challenge. I learned so much because traditional menswear uses wools, different synthetic fabrics. So when you are using hand-woven cotton to create these things, there are construction challenges that are not found in other fabrics. So I had to find my way around it, and I kind of made up my own rules as I went along. In creating this piece. But this collection is one of my most memorable and challenging collections I have done to date. So I thought I'll show you that. Okay, now we are going into the bit of what this workshop is, which is shirts. So I love making shirts because I think everybody wears them. Men, women, children. Shirts are fun to make, and I always like a good patch pocket. Again, my signature geometric shapes that I love to use, and subtle details. So my shirts can go from very subtle to, so this is also another example of a subtle shirt. I call this the Abacus Shirt because it sort of reminded me of an abacus that you push and play around with. So all these are individual swatches, tiny pieces that I had lying around, and I incorporated into a design. And I think like little details like this is always fun, especially when you have to wear them, because clothes are a very personal thing, I think. So adding tiny details onto them is nice for people to see. So, okay, so we're moving on to my shirts. Hang on, sorry about this. Okay, so these are different types of patch pockets I have done at different points of time in the year. And so although my fabric has been designed specifically for this, I also like to rearrange it so that it gives out another geometric look and feel to it. and makes it more interesting and sort of like a collage, if you like. So I like to play around a lot before I cut my fabric. This is also another type of pocket we did. I like the stamp detail. It's always and I make the pocket last because it depends on what I have left over. So once I've cut out the bigger bits, then depending on what I have left over is when I would consider how I want to design the pocket and how I want to make it. So this is also what I had left over. So let me just get closer to the pocket. These are all from a collection of shirts that I have done. Mostly, I mean, because the work is such and the fabric, I only get one design per shirt. This is sort of this is like one of one, so one of a kind shirts that I have been making over the years. Ooh, this was, I think, an angular shirt because I decided to sort of give it a triangle shape and then play with the little lines in the design that I the design that I had in the fabric. So I try to utilize as much as possible. Ooh, I thought I should throw in a black and white. You don't need color always to make a statement. So this is also one of the shirts we did. And notice the patch pocket that I worked out. So these are tiny bits that I cut out to make this design. Ooh, this is my current shirt that I'm doing. I call this the one shirt because basically anybody can wear it. I like big clothes. I like sustainable sizing, so I tend to make things a little bit bigger. So this one shirt is my answer to that, because clothing, I like clothing that, I mean, lockdown has taught me that, like, I can, even if I got fatter or thinner, I can still wear my clothes. I don't have to chuck anything out, which is a good thing. And this is the same shirt for men and women. Okay, so let's get into the workshop bit of how I do a patch pocket. I'm gonna flip us back in a minute. And I'm back. Okay, so how I would work out a patch pocket. Okay, so I'm gonna show the picture this way so that you can see it. So most of the time, depending on how much fabric you have left over, let me get into things what you may need to do a patch pocket, which is some fabric, thread, pins, an iron, very important, and a sewing machine if you have it. If you don't, it's fine. Things to keep in mind before you get onto your patch pocket is ideally your fabric should be something like linen or cotton, because it's easy to iron and it holds the shape well. So when you need to do intricate detailing like this, it becomes easy to press it and iron it. Other important thing is make sure your fabric doesn't bleed, because the easiest way to do this is to take a swatch of fabric and put it in some water. If your water turns the color of that swatch, then you shouldn't be using it. Or you can take a course in tie-dye. Either way, that's fine. So check that out, please. And lastly, for those who are time sensitive, you need some patience. This takes time. Cutting the pieces and putting them together is a bit time consuming. Okay, so how I start off with is I have different types of pockets, different shapes, depending on what I want to use it for. So this is just cut out with cardboard. And you can have any measurement you want. There's technically no no I mean, there are standard sizes, but I don't follow them. But as long as you can put your hand and it's functional, it's good. But if you just even don't want it to be functional, it's fine. So as it starts off with one of these, and then depending on so this is the pocket with seam allowance around it. I've said like 13 centimeters by 14 centimeters. It's just a rough gauge if you want to know. So it starts off with a pocket like this, and then depending on the design, I would draw out something that I'm feeling at that moment, that something would relate to the rest of the shirt. So it would look, I would draw something out like this, for example. It would look something like this. So these are all individual parts. I don't know whether you can see, and I have numbered them. I'm sorry, it's flipped, but you can imagine. So all these are numbered and they're different sections, and you cut the sections out because then it's easier to trace on your fabric. So these are all individual sections that I cut out for my pocket. So like this is like the main shell color, I guess, of the shirt. And then these are the little pieces that you will need, that I'm going to put the design on. Okay, so basically you got the idea. Okay, so then you stitch them up. So it'll look a bit like this. So this is the pocket that I cut out. You can see all the shapes. I basically cut them out, and what I did was stitch them together at the back. You can see the seams, and ironed it very, very well. And at the pocket mouth, I have fused it because the pocket mouth gets a lot of wear and tear because you're constantly putting your hand in. So this is to stabilize it. It's very important. And I like to also use a fusing at the back because it sticks everything down and it gives a nice shape to the pocket. And once you attach all this, you iron it, it sticks. And then you would take your finish board and iron it into shape. Ta-da! Okay. So you would iron all this into shape, so that you get your pocket. And finally, you need a shirt. Well, you can use an existing shirt, or you can buy a shirt and stick it onto the shirt. That's not an issue. And so I have got one of my old shirts, and I have marked the pocket placement of said shirt, which is about 1 inch away from the placket. And then all you do is pin your pocket into place. Okay, I'm gonna put this flat so that it's easy to pin. And hang on. Where are my pins? And then you pin it into place, and depending on what you have, hand stitching will make it more secure, because if you are planning to use your pocket, you want it to be secure and not have a hole at the bottom of it. And okay, voila, you have, pretend I stitched it, and voila, you have a pocket. The other way that this is a bit of work, and depending on the style you want, the kind of swatches, the sizes, takes a bit of time. But another shortcut version or a faster version is to applique details on pockets. So, and you don't need much for that. So if you are in the mood to applique, then if you have bits of leftover fabric, I don't know whether you can see this, this is the shape of my pocket, and I just randomly pinned it in to a design that I like, and just place it to get ready to stitch. Then because the edges fray you may need to iron in the corners so it has a neater edge, and that's what I did. I have ironed in the corners. This takes a bit of time, and then pin it back into your pocket, and sew it. You can hand sew it. There's a hidden stitch. I think it's called a turned. Goodness, now I can't remember it. Needle point turn applique stitch. It's invisible. Needle point. It's an invisible stitch. YouTube it. Plenty of YouTube tutorials, and you can stitch it in any details you want in any way you want. Okay, so I made one for my shirt because it's an old shirt, so just to give it a bit of a facelift. So I'm going to wear my shirt. Actually, in university, we didn't have time sometimes to make clothes. So we would just, when we were shopping for fabrics, we would buy like regular clothes off the rack and modify them. So like change buttons, adding details like this, really fast, quick changes. So you can customize existing shirts you have, or you can buy something off the rack and customize it. So it basically, this is two versions of the patch pocket that you can do. It was very, very fast, but I am also time sensitive, so wanted to keep it a bit brief. If you do have any questions, now's the time to ask. I'm sorry. Yeah, customize. I mean, it's the easiest way to customize clothing. Buttons are a really fast hack. We buy them because you get some shirts that had ugly buttons. Remove the buttons, do some hem embroidery on the collars. You don't have to make anything from scratch. It's easy. It's like our phone screensaver. We're all about customizing. So there are easy ways to customize things to make them yours. Just need the time and the effort. So if there are any questions that anybody likes to ask me, now is a good time. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Hello, Michelle, Azara. Oh, so many people. Thank you for joining in. So does anybody have any questions? Oh, we pretty much can call it a Friday night. Okay. Does every designer know pattern making? I think yes. I think every designer knows pattern making. I think it's important to have an understanding. I mean, you can't be an architect. I mean, I guess you can, but pattern making helps you understand certain things. So they have some sort of foundation. Either they're self-taught or they have an idea about it. So it's important to know, I think, your foundations. It makes you a good designer. But you don't have to be an expert at it because there are specialized, especially in the garment industry. As independent designers, we tend to wear a lot of hats. And so we have to know a lot of things, from pattern making to marketing to taking photographs. But in the industry, you have specialized people for that. So you are a specialist in your corner, and then there are other people to sort and troubleshoot those issues. Okay, Buddhi is asking me, from where do you get inspiration for the designs? It depends on what the project is, and so if it's for a costume or is it for a wearable thing, what kind of fabrics I'm using. So sometimes inspiration can be from a song. Sometimes it can be if it's for a costume for an artist, based on their inspiration, what they wanted to do. So there is never a shortage of where inspiration comes from. But it depends on the project, I think, and what you want to do and what you want to showcase. So from everywhere, nature, buildings. How did you start MFACT? Okay, so MFACT was started in somewhere 2012, and once I came down from university, I was looking for something to do. I was a bit hesitant to join the industry that is the garment industry. I couldn't. That is a different atmosphere. So I didn't want to do that, and so I chose the path of being an independent designer. So then I needed a label, a name for my label called MFACT, and MFACT means because my parents' name is Mari, Marisa, and Mano, three M's. I incorporated their names like M Factors, and I started the label, and my very first collection retailed at Barefoot, and I've been making clothes under MFACT for Barefoot now for the longest time. Okay, Michelle is asking me, what has been your biggest challenge as a designer? Okay, thank you for the question. As independent designers, I think our biggest challenge is sourcing, because our volumes, our quantities are small, and as a result, like in the industry, when they order something, like say buttons, they order it by the thousands. And as independent designers, we don't have that kind of volumes. We want smaller things. And so as a result, sourcing those things, like high quality things, can be a challenge. So yeah, sourcing, I would say sourcing, because we make small quantities, special things. But that's what I said, constraints. So that, like, okay, you don't get the dream button you want, then, necessity is the mother of invention. So you would, use something else. Okay. Are there any more questions, or shall we go lockdown party this Friday? Okay, so I think there are no more questions. So thank you, ARTRA, for letting me host your ARTRA Daily live session today. And thank you all for coming and spending time with me and listening to me chat. So hopefully, I don't know who is on next, but it definitely be interesting. So please watch ARTRA Daily, the space, and see. Oh, one more question. Jimzil, I think. What is your view on slow fashion and conscious buying? Slow fashion is good, because I think if they spent time making a garment, they've obviously thought about making it last longer, as opposed to fast fashion, which is playing to a trend. So I would say, if you're a buyer, always don't go for a brand. Don't always consider the brand name, but look a little bit more into who the designer is and what they're doing. So and if you agree with the views they're doing, so that is sort of being conscious of what you're buying, and always buy something that can stand the test of time, that is well made, because fast fashion is, the whole idea is to live in the moment, and their construction is not meant to stay in your wardrobe forever. It's to be worn and chucked. That is how they make money. So just be conscious about things like that as you're buying. So slow fashion, I think, tends to be well made, because as they're being made, people are conscious about it. There are questions above. Okay, what were the questions above? I'm sorry, multitasking was not my thing. Ooh, okay, I'm trying to find the questions above. Azara, if you can help me, if you can write down the questions. One more question. Okay, Buddhi, please tell me the question. I can't find them in the... Oh, I have answered all the questions. Okay, very good. Okay, so then let's wrap this session up for today. Thank you, ARTRA, once again for letting me host. And please, everybody else, watch the space. Oh, my questions are not over. Buddhi tells me there is one more question. What is that question, Buddhi? If you can help me out and write it in the comment section, that would be super helpful. Are you typing? Also there's one more question. I'm trying to find the question. Forgive me, this is my first Instagram. Okay, Buddhi, the question was, how do you get unstuck creatively? Ooh, I think as independent designers, trying to motivate ourselves every day is a hard thing, because you are your own boss and it's up to you to make it. So unstuck creatively, reading. Oh, that question was from Nicola. Hi Nicola, thank you for the question. Unstuck from creativity is you either, I don't know, sometimes what I do is I wait till the unstuckness passes. I will like binge watch so many series until I'm sick of it, and then get back, because once you do it and you're sick of it, then you want to start creating. It happen. I mean, that is, I don't know how productive that is, but that's what I do sometimes. Binge watch things till you're sick of it, and then you want to change, and then you come back. Oh, other things are just go on holiday. Oh, that's not possible now. I would read a very motivational book as well, to unstuck myself from it. But I would say sometimes you should do something like totally different, and then you will, I think, automatically, when the time is right, want to get back to that creative thing. Okay, Buddhi is telling me that there is another question. If you can type it out, that would be really great, Buddhi. I'm sorry if I'm making you work, because I can't seem to find it. Okay, why was geometric an important part of your design? Okay, geometrics. I guess because this is the thing with weaving, it's all about lines coming this way and crossing this way, and that's what I've seen in my house, because my mom's a textile artist, and a lot of the time the things she do has a very strong geometric aspect to it. And as a kid as well, I tended to I like things straight. I like sometimes things balanced. If they're unbalanced, I find myself, I don't know, gravitating towards that side, and I like graphics. And as a kid, I think I did a lot of stamp making and pattern, geometric pattern based exercises, I think, and then it just took over with what I have. Oh, okay, the question was from Nish. Okay, what are some of your favorite fashion labels? Ooh, I like Victor and Rolf, because they're two Dutch designers, if I've got the country right, and I think they made it bigger in the art world originally than they made it in the actual fashion world, because I think their clothing was too way out there for people. And but slowly, I mean, art, because I think they were very unbearable, and they were so super conceptual. So I also like them because I think for some of their collections, I think they consciously wanted to use some of the old fabrics that they had lying around, and they made it a thing for themselves, where they created this constraint for themselves, where they said, no, we're only going to do collections with whatever we have left over, and started consciously designing as well. So they do some very interesting things from and they're very, I think, a bit political as well, so which is interesting. So I like them. Who was your favorite at the Met Gala? And who was my favorite at the Met Gala and why? Interesting. I guess all of you would have seen the Met Gala. My one, okay, I'm ditching the theme and taking purely based on silhouette, and the look was one of those looks by what's her name? Iris Van Harpen, I think. She did this dress with this girl holding a sword and a book. There's a deeper meaning into it, but I just like the dress because I think she's a designer who has fused working with technology and old school craft methods in her work. So I liked that dress. How do your I have another question. How do you convert your inspiration into design? Converting inspiration into design. Right now, I'm very textile based. So the textile comes first. So I have been looking at a piece of fabric and seeing how it moves, how what is the design, what can I do with it, and so I sort of use the textile as my base inspiration, and then I start designing from there. So, and depending on how much I have of it, this is what I mean by constraints. So how much I have of it, what's the fabric like, and design. What was your favorite theme in the Met Gala? My favorite theme in the Met Gala, I actually can't remember because I haven't been following the themes of the Met Gala that closely. I mean, I've been looking at the outfits, but I haven't been following the themes. So, off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I cannot think of anything. Themas. But do let me know what was yours, themas, in the comment section. I'd be happy to know. Okay, so guys, I think there are no more questions, and let's finally officially wrap up this live session. That was like a proper Sri Lankan goodbye, where we say goodbye and then we talk a bit more and then say goodbye. But I am going to officially wrap up this session. Thank you for coming, thank you for spending time, and thank you for your questions. Please watch the space for more live sessions with the ARTRA Daily. I'm signing off. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.